Hey guys, it's Sami, and this is Wrestling Unlimited, as it's Monday, and this is the Wrestling Wrap-Up, a handful of news brought to you in one easy-to-watch video. As far as today's show does go, we've got some news, and we've got some other cool things as well. The first thing we're going to talk about is the kids and I went to a local indie show, a local wrestling show. It was the Best of the West 7th anniversary show. You see it on the thumbnail. They've got a great lineup of matches were on this show. We had some cool stuff. Juicy finale. I'm going to talk a lot about him because I had a cool experience with him. Dave Dirta was in the main event against Wise Guy. They had a cool battle royal and a bunch of other stuff. So I'll give you my lowdown from that show and whatnot. I did get a little wet during the show. Not Best of the West fault. Building issues. But we're also going to talk about Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens working Saudi Arabia. What's going on with Randy Orton? More Dynamite matches were announced for this week. There's the departure from AEW, Super Juniors update, and so much more. Because again, this is the Wrestling Wrap-Up. Every Monday and Friday morning, right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited, we bring you all the latest news in the world of professional wrestling. Remember, you can watch this show a number of different ways. You can watch either by hitting that donate button down below or by donating Twitch bits in the live chat. Also remember, you can watch this show on YouTube, either live or later, youtube.com/PW Unlimited, or listen on podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. Remember, if you are watching live on Twitch, you can help us out a couple of different ways. You can help us out by hitting that donate button down below or by donating Twitch bits in the live chat. Also, remember, you can help us out by subscribing to the channel one of two different ways. You could subscribe with a tiered subscription, or you could subscribe with Amazon Prime, because remember, if you have Amazon Prime, then you have Prime Gaming. Prime Gaming gives you a lot of cool things like free games, free stuff for games, and they always give you one free subscription to any Twitch channel you want to subscribe to throughout the month. And I greatly appreciate it if you did right here, Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Also, remember, you can support us by going over to YouTube and becoming a channel member. As a channel member, you get early access to news, early access podcast episodes, early access to non-news videos, and so much more. And finally, head over to the Epic Game Store. Head over to the Epic Game Store and buy something. Whether you're buying a new game, whether you're buying an old game, whether you're claiming a free game or getting bucks for Rocket League, Fortnite, or Fall Guys, which is in its new season, use this code right here, PW Unlimited at checkout, and you will be supporting us at no extra cost. Again, trying to get into that new season of Fall Guys, trying to get Star Wars Jedi Survivor, or maybe even claiming the free packs they have up right now for The Sims 4. Well, use code PWU NLIMITED at checkout, and you'll be supporting us at no extra cost. I do want to add something in here on my run of show really fast on my lineup, because I see someone just messaged me on Twitch, or on Twitter, and I had gotten the same message from somebody else earlier, so I want to address something that happened this morning, but we're not going to go into full story mode on this because it's not a big story yet, possibly. But as far as the main story of today's show, this past Saturday night, I took my kids to the Best of the West 7th anniversary show, and this show was really, really fun. We had a number of big matches, a bunch of a bunch of champions kept their belts. One new champion was crowned. There's a new Best of the West West Coast champion. There were title defenses and retains from the Battle King, Dave Dutra. He defeated Wise Guy, who I actually sort of have a connection to Wise Guy because other side of that wall is my roommate. He grew up with Wise Guy. We also saw Juicy Finale was on the show and had a great, I guess you can say, brawl, street fight, whatever. So that was really fun. Tag champs retained their titles. The Heartbeaters retained their titles against Draxon and Gremlin. And a lot of other cool stuff on the show. There was a battle royal. This was really funny. So they're doing their battle royal, and on their anniversary show, they always do the battle royal to crown the next number one contender for the heavyweight championship. And in the Battle Royal, we have all these guys and this and that, and then out comes Super Beast looking like, well, Super Beast, just destroying people, and Super Beast ends up winning, becoming their new #1 contender. And so where me and the kids are sitting, it's kind of like at one of the entrances for people to come in and out, not like where the wrestlers come out when their music hits, but just if they want to come out to like the table where they're selling their merch, or if they just want to come out into the main floor area during somebody else's match, they come out right behind where we were sitting. Kind of did that on purpose. But, and so we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, this was after his match and everything. He's watching, I think, the women's triple threat, maybe, where it was the women's championship match where Sage Sin Supreme did retain her belt. But Super Beast walks up, and he's right behind us, and I kind of didn't realize he was behind us at first. And so I stepped to the side to take pictures. You know, I was snapping photos the whole night, and all of a sudden my son just goes, oh, and just looks up at Super Beast in awe. And he kind of like taps my daughter, his sister. And she looks up, and she's just like, oh. And he kind of notices that they're looking at him. He's like, hi. It was super funny. But then I also finally met Phil from the Bullet Cast. He was at the show there with Juicy Finale. So I also got to meet Juicy Finale, which was another great experience because, so Phil's like, oh, let me introduce you to Juicy. And he's looking around. I don't know where he went right now. We'll talk about Juicy's match here in a minute, though. But he's like, oh, I don't know where he went. I'll introduce you after the show because I had never met Juicy. And so before this, actually, though, I text Baby Huey of In the Click. And I go, hey, Phil from Bullcast is here. And I'd met Phil once before because we did the In the Click End of the Year show last year together. It was me, Huey, Brian Tronick, and Phil. And so, like, I know who Phil is. Phil knows who I am. We've done the one show together and whatnot. And I'm like, hey, Phil from Bullcast is here. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah. He's like, send me a picture of him. And by the time I was able to get a picture of him, I'm like, oh, he walked backstage. So Huey goes, I'm going to mess with him. Send me a picture of the ring. I want to pull up some text messages here really fast. Hopefully he doesn't. I don't think Huey's going to mind that I talk about this. So I send him a picture of the ring, right? And Huey, so first off, Huey messages Phil. And he's like, I see you. Come back from backstage. And Phil's like, where are you at? And so he sends him the picture I sent him of the ring. He goes, I'm making my debut tonight. Gonna run in and attack Juicy. So Phil's like, bro, what? He's like, I'm telling you, I'm everywhere. So then I finally get a picture of Phil with Phil not looking. Doing what's in my phone's ringing and I don't need to answer this call. And so he's like, bro, seriously, where are you at? Where are you at? And so we screw with Phil for a little while. And then finally he's like, all right, you can go up to him. Because at first I was like, he's like, hey, you're gonna go say hi. He's like, well, yeah, but I don't want to kill the joke yet. And so he's like, I already told him. I was just screwing with him. So you can go say hi. So that when I went up to Phil, said hi, introduced myself personally. Again, we've met once before doing the In the Click podcast together, but we had never met in person. So I thought that was funny. He was like, oh man, you guys got me. You got me. Yeah. Like, why would you help him get me? We're here together. We could have like done something. I don't know. But it was funny. But so Phil's like, after the show, I'll introduce you to Juicy, the snack. I'm like, cool. And so the show ends. Super fun main event with Dave, Durda, and Wise Guy. And then I look around and I'm like, where the hell Phil go? Where'd Phil go? So I text Huey and I'm like, hey, can't find Phil. What's Phil's number? And so he's not getting back to me. So I'm like, all right, we got to go. So we walk out. And in the front of the building, there's Phil and Juicy selling Juicy shirts. And I'm like, oh, okay. They're out here. So I walk over and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And he's like, oh, and he introduces me to Juicy. And the kids are just sitting there. Because if you've never met Juicy Finale is huge. He's a big, tall guy. If you don't know who Juicy Finale, one half of the Samoan SWAT team, one half of the MLW tag team champions. I can pull a picture up of Juicy here for you guys to see as well. Where's the best one that I have? see. It would be... Now I can't find it. Let me just search it really fast. 1810. Here we go. I'll pull this picture up on the screen. Oh, and it wants to do that? Oh, no, it's not going to pull up properly. It's all sideways for some reason when it wants to open. And I have to open it in Photoshop. I can open it in Photoshop really fast. Because, well, actually, I'll just pull up the thumbnail I've got and I can show you. Juicy's on my thumbnail of this show. And you probably, if you're watching live, you're not seeing the thumbnail. So, we'll just pull the thumbnail up. So, this is Juicy for now. If you guys don't know. Guy here on the far left. That's Juicy for now. Big, tall dude. My son, maybe 5 foot, 5'1". My daughter, 4.5 feet or something, maybe. They're just looking up at him like, oh my God. Oh my God. And Juicy's talking to them. He's like, how old are you? My daughter's like, I'm 10. My brother's almost 12. And they're talking. And he's like, you're almost 12? You're big for being almost 12. And I'm like, yeah, he kind of is. Because again, my son's like almost 12 and he's 5'1", 5'2" almost. And so they talk to Juicy, they shake his hand and all this stuff. And like, man, this is so cool. And then we go to leave, and my son just got the biggest smile on his face. And I'm like, what? He goes, that was awesome. I was like, what? He goes, I got to meet and talk to a wrestler. And granted, when he was like 6, we went to Cricket Wireless, and he met The Miz, and The Miz let him hold the IC title and a picture and stuff. But that was like the first time that it wasn't at some. And I think we did another meet and greet with WWE once before that they got to see a wrestler at like a local thing. But that was the first time like it was just them with the wrestler. It wasn't like a setup thing through like WWE. We didn't have to wait in line really. None of that. It was just they walked up and said hi. So great experience. I really want to thank Juicy for that one. I know I sent them a text afterwards thanking them and stuff, but Juicy's match. So Juicy took on, and I got to find the name really fast. Juicy took on, now I can't remember his name, but give me a second to find it because these two. Oh, man. Now why can't I find who his opponent was? Man, this is going to bug me because I really want to give him credit, but I didn't write his name down. But Juicy had this match where him and this guy are fighting in the ring. Oh, it's right here. It is. Hold on one second. It is. I think it was Mecha Wolf. I think it's who his opponent was. Mecha Wolf. So they have this match where they're fighting in the ring. They spill to the outside and they're fighting and stuff. They get thrown into the crowd. And then they go outside, like outside the building. And everyone's like, okay, we can't see what's going on. What's going on? So I'm talking there with Phil. And I'm like, so how long do you think they're going to be outside? He goes, I do not know what's going on. And so everyone's sitting there waiting 2 minutes or so, maybe 3 minutes. And we start hearing some commotion from the other side of the building. And someone yells, watch out! And they come down this little skinny hallway. And this was taking place inside of like a gym that's got like a Ninja Warrior area. And it's one of those kind of gyms, like a Ninja Warrior gym. So they have the front, then they have a skinny little hallway, and then you get into the gym area. So they start coming down, and you see people scattering and running out of the way. You got Mecha Wolf, and you've got Juicy just, fighting. And they come down, and they come through the door. Mecha Wolf comes through the door to get into the main area. And he grabs a Rubbermaid trash can, just a half-full Rubbermaid trash can. And as soon as Juicy comes through that second door out the hallway, he takes that trash can and just, boom, blasts him right in the face. Right in the face. And Phil goes, did he just take a shoot trash can right to the face? I'm like, yes, he did. Rubbermaid, buddy. Rubbermaid. That thing wasn't empty. So they keep on fighting. At one point, Juicy sits him on a chair and basically crossbodies him on the chair. And then he puts Juicy on a chair and he knocks down Juicy off the chair. He then throws Juicy into the front row of people, jumps in the ring, dives through the ropes onto Juicy. They crash through the front 2 rows of people or whatever. There's maybe 50 people in here. Let me see. There's maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 100 people. Between 50 and 100 people. And so, because there was maybe almost 30 on just the side of the ring we were on. But regardless, these two have a great match. Juicy climbs to the top rope, does his splash off the top rope. Mech Wolf ends up actually picking up the victory. Great match, super fun, loved it. And yeah, if you haven't seen Best of the West Wrestling, check it out. You can watch them on Flow Wrestling. I'll put a link to their Facebook and their Flow Wrestling for this show particularly in the chat right now. But support local wrestling. Support local indie wrestling. Because if you've got indie shows near you, support them. The more you support them, the more they can do, the more shows they can bring, and the more support they get, the bigger names they can bring. Like Best of the West has had a lot of big names in the past. Christopher Daniels, MVP, just to name a few. So like, I think right before the pandemic, they ran a show where they had the entire SoCal Uncensored. Kazarian, Daniels, and I can't think of his name, all of Scorpio Sky. So yeah. Support local pro wrestling in your area. If you've got an indie promotion, we've got a few out here. Support them. Go to the shows. Also, Funny Bone was on this show. Funny Bone cut a fantastic promo. He's like, I'm gonna get out of character. Funny Bone worked as a heel. He was in a triple threat match, and he's like, I'm gonna break character for a second. Like, I've been doing this for 22 years. And they win tonight, but I had a great time. Best of the West. It's where it's at. Fresno's my second home. Support this goddamn company. And again, Josh and Mike, the guys that run Best of the West, great guys doing great things. So yeah, if you've got a local wrestling promotion near you, support them. Because for all you know, you supporting them and buying tickets to their shows and telling people about it can then get more interest on those shows. And with more interest comes in more money. And with more money comes more things they can do. Bigger buildings, bigger shows, bigger names. Like where Nick lives in San Francisco in the Bay Area. Big Time Wrestling just announced they're bringing in freaking Matt Cardona. They're bringing in, not my Best of Wrestling, but West Coast Pro Wrestling is bringing in Kushida. So, again, this is just a PSA. If you got a local wrestling company, support them. You may not know any of the wrestlers on the show, but I'm going to say, from everybody that I know that goes to local wrestling shows, 99% of the time, you're not going to come out disappointed. And also, if you're going to be a dick in the chat, you're going to get timed out. Do it again after your timeout, you're going to get banned. Just because I'm not talking about the story you want me to talk about at the moment doesn't mean you can be an asshole. But regardless, again, support local wrestling, because even if you don't know any of the wrestlers on the show, or maybe you only know one or whatever, I guarantee you most of the time you're going to come out with a great experience. Even if there's like one match that stood out to you, one or two matches that stood out to you, you're going to come like, oh, yeah. And like when they did the intermission, or right after the intermission, they started saying, oh, we're going to be in this city coming up on this date. And we're going to be in this city coming up on this date. And we're going to be right back in this building in July. And my son goes, oh? I'm like, what? He goes, they're coming back. I'm like, oh, you want to go? And he's like, yeah. He had such a good time. He's like, I want to go to all their shows whenever we can. So very, very cool. Now, this week is the television upfronts, as pertaining to networks like Warner Brothers or companies really, like Warner Brothers Discovery, ABC, Fox, NBC Universal. They all put on these presentations to say, hey, here's our slate of shows for the next season. Here's what we are bringing new. Here's what we are renewing and bringing back. And interestingly, NBC Universal and Fox were both today. No mention of WWE. No mention, no WWE wrestlers there at all. Usually, like, I think it was NBC last year may have had Bianca at one. I know Charlotte's been in one of the upfronts. I can't remember if it was a Fox or an NBC upfront in the past. But no mention of WWE at either the Fox or the NBC upfronts today. And some people have asked me if that's a bad sign. And I say, not yet. Because, yes, with Fox particularly, they did announce what's new and what's coming back. I haven't seen for NBC yet. But Fox did announce what's new and what's coming back and didn't note that WWE is coming back. Now, we do know that Fox and NBC Universal, or Fox and WWE, are currently in negotiations, in talks on a new television deal that does expire, I want to say, at the end of the year. So maybe because they haven't agreed upon terms of a new deal or anything on that matter, there is no news on WWE will be back at the end of the year or WWE will not be back at the end of the year. I think that's the thing to look at is we're in a negotiation period, so they can't say anything either way, yes or no, we're bringing back WWE and SmackDown on Fridays. So that's why there was nothing. With NBC, I know the NXT deal's up in September and the Raw deal's up at the end of this year. So again, they're in the exclusive window of we can talk with our current partners. So they're talking with NBCU. They're talking with Fox. And that's why nothing, I believe, no one's told me this particularly, but that's why I believe nothing was talked about this morning from either company, because they're still working out new deals, potential new deals with WWE, and nothing is set in stone. Unlike, with Fox, Crime Scene Kitchen, we've been running commercials for the last 2 weeks. It's coming back for a second season. They announced that, they're not bringing back 911. That's moving over to ABC, but 911 Lone Star is returning to Fox. That was officially announced. So they just have nothing to announce because the deal has not been made yet. Now, the one story everyone apparently is coming here for. Kevin and Sami are going to Saudi. It was announced last week on SmackDown that the WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa will be challenging Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships at Night of Champions, which in turn means that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn will be going to Saudi Arabia for the show. Now, Kevin Owens, I believe, did work the first Saudi show, the Greatest Royal Rumble. Sami has never gone, and we do now have an update on all of this. This does come from the Wrestling Observer website, F4W Online. For the first time since 2014, Sami Zayn is set to wrestle in Saudi Arabia. Zayn and Owens are scheduled to defend the WWE Tag titles against Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa at Night of Champions from Jeddah on May 27th. In 2019, our own Dave Meltzer reported that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia requested Zayn not be on WWE shows from the country due to his Syrian heritage. Zayn's parents immigrated to Canada from Syria in the 1970s before he was born. Diplomatic relations between Syria and Saudi Arabia broke down in 2011 following an Arab Spring movement and the Syrian civil war. The Arab League suspended Syria's membership on November 16, 2011, and Syrians were prevented from traveling to Saudi Arabia. Sami took part in a house show tour from the region in 2014, but has not performed in the country since for WWE and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia once they entered a multi-year agreement in 2018. Earlier this month, the Arab League voted to reinstate Syria's membership. Syrians, including Sami Zayn, are now once again permitted to travel to Saudi Arabia, opening the door for him to perform on the WWE shows in that area. Dave Meltzer stated the following on last night's Wrestling Observer Radio. Kevin and Sami are wrestling Roman and Solo Sikoa, and that's going to be one of the two main events for the Saudi show on the 27th. And what basically happened there was, I guess, Saudi Arabia has opened up to where Syrians can come in. So Sami can come in and decided that he would go. And when Sami decided he would go, Kevin decided that if Sami is going, then he'll go too. Now, again, Kevin Owens did enter the 2018 Greatest Royal Rumble, but hasn't gone to Saudi Arabia since. Meltzer continues. When the thing started, women weren't allowed to go. It's not just WWE, but it's with other products as well. As more Western products have gone to Saudi Arabia, they have allowed them to be what they are, and WWE being no different. So there we go. Things are changing in Saudi Arabia. And so, yeah, that is why Kevin and Sami are going, because Syrians are now allowed to go back to that country. They're allowed to go in. And it sounds like from what Meltzer stated, they asked Sami if he would go, because ultimately they have said since 2018, since that first show, they've told wrestlers, if you don't want to go, we understand, and you don't have to go. And so Kevin did the first show and was like, you know what, after that, I'm good. I don't want to go anymore. So that's the whole story of why Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are now working the Night of Champions show. One wrestler that hasn't been around for a year and will not be working Night of Champions, well, is Randy Orton. Randy Orton has been out with a back injury. Give me 1 second. Link's not loading here. Because Randy's been out with a back injury, and his dad, Cowboy Bob Orton, speaking with Bill Apter Sports Kita, gave an update on this, but I want to get the exact quote, so let me pull it up. It's not wanting to load. Let me try another link really quickly. All right, here we go. I think this one's loading. Yeah. So Randy Orton has not wrestled in, I want to say, a year. I could pull it up exactly. Randy Orton. I pull up his cage match and it'll tell us. Randy Orton's last match was, oh, wow, it's been almost a year. May 20th, 2022. Where it was a winner-takes-all unification tag title match where the Usos beat RK Bro. So in 5 days, it'll be a year since Randy Orton wrestled. Regardless. While speaking to Sportskita's Bill Apter, Bob Orton, the father of Randy Orton, stated the following. He's training, so we'll see what happens. I don't know if he feels like going back. If he feels like going back, or if he feels like he's ready to go back. I think he might. Then again, he's pretty well taken care of. I don't think he needs to. I think doctors have told him not to. But Randy will do what Randy is going to do. He always does. And trust me, we know Randy Orton does whatever Randy Orton wants to do a lot of times. But regardless, according to his father, doctors have advised him maybe you shouldn't return to the ring. We know that back in November, Randy Orton did have back fusion surgery. And just recently, over the last month or so, Dave Meltzer did note that Randy Orton is nowhere close to actually returning. As we keep talking WWE news, we have some roster talk, I guess you can call it, as far as who's listed where on what roster. And first off, we're going to talk about the SmackDown Women's roster. Now, remember Friday, we talked about the men's SmackDown roster. And now, per Mike Johnson of PW Insider, we have a depth chart of the heels and baby faces for the women's division on SmackDown. As far as the baby faces do go, Raw Women's Champion, Bianca Belair. Still kind of weird that she's Raw Women's Champion on SmackDown. That's a whole other story we don't have any info on. Charlotte Flair is listed as a babyface. Shotzi is listed as a babyface. Zelina Vega, Mia Yim, and Aaliyah, of all people, listed as a SmackDown babyface, even though she wasn't drafted. On the heel side, we've got Asuka, Bayley, Lacey Evans, Scarlett, B-Fab, and Tamina. So I guess B-Fab is just... Oh, hold on. Where was... Give me 1 second. Where was Hit Row drafted? I want to say they were drafted to SmackDown, but let me double check. Yeah, Hit Row and Lacey Evans were drafted to SmackDown in the supplemental draft on night 1. So B-Fab lumps in with that. The what's it called? Hit Row. And then Tamina, also listed as a heel on SmackDown. Now, as far as tag teams do go, Mike Johnson's also got a little depth chart on that. So first talk about SmackDown tag teams, since we're already talking SmackDown. On the men's side, the top babyface tag team, the Brawling Brutes. We also have the LWO, the Street Profits, and the OC, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows. As far as heel tag teams on SmackDown do go, you have the Usos, Pretty Deadly, and Hit Row, which makes sense because if BFAB's listed as a heel. Hit Row's listed as heels, which is a change, I want to say, because correct me if I'm wrong, Hit Row were baby faces when they first came back. We haven't seen Hit Row in a while. Like, when's the last time Top Dollar had a match? It was before Mania, right? When was the last time Top Dollar worked a match? Yeah, March 31st, 2023. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on SmackDown. But as far as that does go, as far as the men's tag teams, the top babyface tag team, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, the tag team champions, The New Day, Braun Strowman and Ricochet, and the Alpha Academy. As far as heel tag teams on Raw do go, Judgment Day is listed as the top heel team. Then we got Imperium, the Viking Raiders, Maximum Male Models, which is an interesting one because Maximum Male Models and not Hit Row, but Alpha Academy kind of entwined right now. So Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis, baby faces, Maximum Male Models, Maxine Dupree, I did that wrong, Dupree, Masse and Mansois, heels. Also listed on the heel side for Raw tag team wise is Angelo, Los Lotharios, Angel and Humberto, and Indu Shear. It's also noted that Io Sky and Dakota Kai were not put on any list, but are listed as not Damage Control, but just Io Sky and Dakota Kai, the tag team, not listed as Damage Control. Remember, Bayley listed by herself as the number 2 heel on SmackDown, and then Io and Dakota are just listed as Io Sky, Dakota Kai, the tag team. So those are some interesting little deals going on when it comes to some depth charts in WWE on the heel and babyface side. And one name we didn't really talk about there, but we did talk about on Friday was, well, LA Knight. I'm going to pull up the men's depth chart really fast. We do have that for SmackDown. LA Knight is listed on the heel side. And according to a new report from Boozer666, they do state that there's a let's see, where is it? LA Knight is in line for a big push, and things have been in the books 100%. I did have some people ask me about LA Knight over the weekend, so I just wanted to bring you that. Boozer did state things take time, and there's a certain structure and protocol. So have faith. He's in good hands. Now, we do know that next week on SmackDown, which this is an interesting one, the Street Profits will be taking on the team of LA Knight and Rick Boogs, which means, is Boogs a heel? Is old Ricky Boogs a heel on SmackDown? If he's teaming with LA Knight, who is supposed to be considered a heel, even though he gets a good babyface reaction from live crowds, that's an interesting one. That was announced over the weekend. That LA Knight will be teaming with Rick Boogs against the Street Profits next week on SmackDown. So I don't know what this means for Boogs. But yeah, he's not with Elias. They were doing all that Elias stuff. And there we go. Kirkland's a good question in the YouTube chat. He says, Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt, according to Mike Johnson of PW Insider, is not listed on any internal lists whatsoever. Not a free agent list, not a Raw list, not a SmackDown list. Nothing, nothing, nothing. So, with that, some good news for one WWE superstar. An injured wrestler returned this past weekend. Injuries happen all the time in WWE, and one wrestler who flared up an existing injury was Johnny Gargano, who has not worked since his Grayson Waller match to Stand and Deliver. Yet, Johnny Gargano did return to the ring this past weekend. And I just lost the note on who he wrestled. Give me 1 second. He returned to in-ring action when he was taking on Intercontinental Champion Gunther at Saturday's house show in Augusta, Georgia. So that's really, really cool to see that Gargano's back. And not only back, they put him in there with Gunther. I can only imagine how good a Gunther Johnny Gargano match can be. And I just got an idea. Okay, so tonight on Raw, there is a number one contenders battle royal where the winner becomes the next number one contender for the Intercontinental Champion, Gunther. I want Johnny to win it. If Johnny's cleared and good to go, as they're saying, he is back full-time in action, because I think Fightful had a report on this as well, where they stated... Oh, Fightful just put up a Bray Wyatt update. We're going to have to add that to the show. Fightful stated... Johnny Gargano has returned to the in-ring working this weekend. We're told he's back full on right now. So that's good to see. But hold on. We're adding a story to the show. I haven't read this. Fightful, since we've gone live, put up a Bray Wyatt story. So the screen might freeze for a second because I'm going to do something, but will be, excuse me, 2 seconds. Okay. So I'm going into this cold. I have not read this Bray Wyatt story from Fightful. So we're all going into it together. Fightful does write the following. Bray Wyatt is still with WWE. Reports that Bray Wyatt was not listed on internal WWE rosters today caused a little bit of a stir. However, we have confirmed with numerous WWE sources that Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas, also known right now as Uncle Howdy, are still with the company. We were told that particular roster that was referred in the report omitted Wyatt due to injury, specifically the illness he's been dealing with for months. Uncle Howdy's creative has been put on hold since Wyatt's absence, but both are in the company. We're told Wyatt has been hopeful and wanting to return, but there's been no update on his health or status. Regarding Road Dogg saying that a writer was hired for Bray Wyatt, we were told that there was confusion regarding that as well. So there we go. Bray Wyatt is still with the company, possibly still dealing with whatever this injury is, or illness is. So we go from there and we wait. What is going to happen with he and Uncle Howdy? He and Bo, whatever they want to do. So there we go. There's our update on Bray Wyatt. Still with the company, but out because technically he's listed as injured due to an illness. Final WWE story we do have for you. This is going to be not pertaining to most, but I did want to bring this one here in case you do have WWE stock and what's going to happen once they do merge into the new company under Endeavor with the UFC. WWE issued the following regarding their stock, stating, quote, WWE today announced that it entered into privately negotiated agreements with certain investors to exchange an aggregate of 6.9 million shares of its Class A common stock and in cash for principal amount of its outstanding 3.375 convertible senior notes due in 2023 held by such investors, the exchanges, pursuant to exemptions from registration under the Securities Act of 1933 as amended, and the rules and regulations thereunder. The exchanges are expected to close on or about May 18th, 2023, so in 3 days. In connection with the exchanges, WWE also entered into partial unwind agreements with JP Morgan, Chase Bank, National Association, Branch, Morgan Stanley & Co., International PLC, and Citibank N.A., collectively the counterparties, to terminate corresponding portions of the convertible note, hedge, and warrant transactions WWE previously entered into with the counterparties in connection with the issuance of the notes. The respective unwind agreements provided for a payment by each counterparty to WWE in respect of the convertible notes hedge transactions, or by WWE to each counterparty in respect of the warrant transactions as applicable, in cash in the amount based on the trading price of WWE's common stock. In connection with such termination, WWE anticipates that it will receive net proceeds from the counterparties equal to approximately J. Wood Capital Advisors LLC acted as placement agent and financial advisor in connection with these transactions. This press release does not constitute an offer to sell or the solicitation of an offer to buy any securities, nor shall there be any offer. solicitation or sale of any securities in any jurisdiction in which such offering, solicitate, or sale would be unlawful. WWE publicly, I think I just read that. Yeah, that's just info about WWE. So cool. Basically what they're saying is that all these companies that have invested in WWE and that technically kind of, because of stock, own a percentage of the company, things are going to get worked out, and basically $6.9 million in stock is going to get converted possibly into $171 million in notes for this new company. But as we move forward, let's talk AEW. Some new matches were announced on Rampage pertaining to this week's Dynamite. And I'm just going to say, what are we doing, Tony Khan? Jungle Boy is wrestling who? Roosh? For what reason? It was literally announced that Jungle Boy will wrestle Roosh on this week's Dynamite. Why? What does this have anything to do with him going into the four-way for the championship? Why are we doing this? I get before when they were building up the four-way, because the whole thing Max said was, you guys pick up some wins and whoever can get the best record before the pay-per-view will challenge me. Then they all kind of had the same record, and then they ended up with the four-way. But what does Jungle Boy and Roosh have other than, we want to put them on a match that's probably going to be really, really good? At least when Danielson wrestled Roosh, that was because MJF was doing the Jericho story with Danielson. You got to beat 5 guys before you can face me. I'm going to pick the 5 guys. But Tony Khan making no goddamn sense here. Tony Khan making no goddamn sense here. Also, he said Sami's going to be in a match, but the competitor has not yet been announced. What? How is this building up the pay-per-view? They're just going to both pick up wins leading to the pay-per-view, and then what? Maybe Darby comes out during or after the Sami match and says something to Sami. MJF can come out after the Jungle Boy match and say something. I don't know. But how is this building up towards the pay-per-view? We saw these guys do nothing together last week. We didn't even, correct me if I'm wrong, Wednesday was a very hectic day for me. Got some really bad news. So I didn't pay super attention to the show. But correct me if I'm wrong, MJF wasn't even on the show live last week. There's only 2 Dynamites before the pay-per-view. What are we doing, Tony? What are we doing? In keeping with AEW news, there was a departure recently from All Elite Wrestling. Apparently, this person, Jesus freaking Christ, had to learn from others that she was no longer being renewed, and that, well, is Leva Bates. Fightful writes the following. Leva Bates is gone from All Elite Wrestling after 4 years with the company. We're told that Leva's contract situation was a unique one, and that she was surprised by the news. Bates' deal had expired, and those close to her said the AEW didn't have a conversation with her about renewing the deal. Some in the company found out when an email went out notifying that they were not renewing the deal. Bates was said to have found out when other people contacted her to see if she was okay. Bates was originally brought in as a wrestler, but was transitioned into a number of backstage roles during her time with the company. Starting in 2022, she'd become more active in the ring, most recently competing in AEW in February. There were several in AEW that, upon hearing the news, pushed for her to remain with the company, but we haven't heard that there are any plans for that to happen. Bates was heavily influential in AEW Heels group getting started and putting those events together. Bates' statement on social media was also applauded by many in the company, as the circumstances surrounding her finding out how she was released or not being retained was less than ideal. Now, she also did a Twitch stream where she stated the following on her release. Yes, I am no longer with AEW, but that is okay. I put a lot of love and effort and energy into that place and no regrets. I'm so happy to be there from day one, before we even had a show, before we had our first pay-per-view. I have made history. I am part of history. So I'm forever grateful, and forever will just be so thankful to have been part of that. But as you know, probably realized, I am not performing as much as I'd like to perform. So I'm taking all of this energy and focusing it on trying to make things happen, trying to wrestle as many places as I can to go, who knows where. I'm trying to act. I have some stuff lined up to get me on my journey. She continued on to say that she already has some independent dates booked, but couldn't reveal them yet. Bates revealed that later in her stream, she found out she was no longer with AEW while at the dentist. Yeah, she found out that her contract was not being renewed when she was contacted by people asking her about it at the dentist. Jesus freaking Christ. Now, as we transition to some non-AEW news, Tessa Blanchard made some headlines over the weekend with stating that she feels she's got unfinished business in the world of professional wrestling. As well, while recently on tour with CWE, Canadian Wrestling Elite, she appeared on the Maguire on Wrestling podcast and stated the following. First of all, I can't express how thankful I am. I've been so accepting here. Even today, I was just unprecedented. Not the right one. That's a weird word to use there, but okay. They are just chanting, Tessa, Tessa, let's go, Tessa. That always feels great, especially after being away for so long. But yeah, I'm always going to want more. I feel like I've got some unfinished business in wrestling. I'm 27 years old, and I do feel confidently like I'm one of the best there is, and I can go with the best. So I won't stop pushing for that. But I've got other things going on too. I think it's important to have that balance of knowing who you are outside of the business, because the business isn't always going to be there for you. Now, Blanchard also signed with XPW recently, and she'll make her debut on May 27th for them at their Broken, Beat, and Scared event. So yeah, Tessa Blanchard hasn't really been around much in pro wrestling since 2020, when there were multiple wrestlers who came public with statements regarding Blanchard's backstage behavior. In particular, Blanchard was criticized for allegedly using racial slurs during an argument with La Rosa Negra. Last month, Blanchard and La Rosa Negra actually appeared in a social media post together, seemingly burying the hatchet. Now, back when she was wrestling full-time for Impact, and there was talks of, oh, is she going to leave Impact to go to WWE? Could she leave Impact to go to AEW? I thought she was one of the top three, if not like the best female in-ring competitor and worker. And again, she hasn't worked much in the last couple of years, and I haven't seen any of her recent stuff. But yeah, if she's as good as she was before, then maybe she can start building her name and her brand back up in wrestling and get some great, good opportunities leading to maybe something big for her. Now, a not so great story. It's being reported that superstar Billy Graham is actually currently on life support. Pro wrestling legend, superstar Billy Graham, also known as real name Elijah Wayne Coleman, has been placed on life support as he continues to battle severe health issues. In an update posted to Facebook on Monday morning, Graham's wife, Valerie Coleman, stated that, quote, urgent prayers are needed for her husband. Valerie said doctors wanted to remove Graham's life support, but she refused to do so. She stated, please, urgent prayers needed for my husband. The doctors wanted to remove him from life support tonight. I refused. He's a fighter, and his will is strong, even if his body isn't. God is our hope. The 79-year-old Graham, who's battled numerous health issues for decades, has been hospitalized for several months now. Valerie wrote on May 9th that Graham was battling an infection and an organ failure and would need to undergo emergency surgery. So, all the prayers to superstar Billy Graham. Hopefully he can fight this and kick out, as they say. But yeah, we want to send the best wishes to his family, his friends, his fans, and everybody. And we just wish the best for superstar Billy Graham. A final news story we've got for you. Since Friday, when we last talked about the best of the Super Juniors, there's been 2 more nights of the best of the Super Juniors. We've got those updates for you right now. So as far as night 2 does go in the best of the Super Juniors, Here's who picked up victories. In the B block, Yo defeated Master Wato. In the A block, Hiromu Takahashi defeated Doki. In the B block, El Desperado defeated Bushi. In the A block, Taiji Ishimori defeated Titan. In the B block, Francisco Akira defeated Kevin Knight. In the A block, Mike Bailey defeated Sho. In the B block, Robbie Eagles defeated Clark Connors. And in the A block, Leo Rush defeated Rizusuke Taguchi. In the B block, Yoshinobu Kanemaru defeated Dan Maloney. And rounding out night 2, in the A block, TJP defeated Kushida. As we move on to night 3, Kevin Knight defeated Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Sho defeated Ryusuke Taguchi. In the B block, Clark Connors defeated Bushi. In the A block, Taiji Ishimori defeated Doki. In the B block, Francisco Akira defeated Robbie Eagles. In the A block, Titan defeated Kushida. In the B block, Dan Maloney defeated Yo. In the A block, Mike Bailey defeated TJP. In the B block, El Desperado defeated Master Wato. And in the A block, rounding it out, Leo Rush defeated Hiromu Takahashi. I watched that match. That match was fantastic. I was told you need to watch Leo Rush versus Takahashi. I watched it this morning. Whoo! That match was great. Now, as far as the updated standings after 3 nights do go, leading the A block, there's a 3-way tie right now with 6 points and 3 victories. Well, 3 victories and 6 points, because if you don't remember, a pinfall or submission victory nets you at 2 points. A countout or disqualification victory nets you 1 point. And leading the A block with 3 victories and 6 points, it's Mike Bailey, Taiji Ishimori, and Leo Rush. Next up with 4 points, a 2-1 record, it's Titan. With a 1-2 record and 2 points, we got Hiromu Takahashi, Doki, TJP, and Sho. With a record of 0-3 and 0 points, we got Kushida and Ryusuke Taguchi. If we look over at the B block, at the top of the B block, nobody is undefeated in the B block like we do have in the A block. We've got a 6-way tie at the top. With a 2-1 record and 4 points, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Robbie Eagles, El Desperado, Clark Connors, Dan Maloney, and Francisco Akira. Then, with a 1-2 record and 2 points, Master Wato, Yo, Kevin Knight, and at the bottom of the B block, with an 0-3 record and 0 points, is Bushi. There we go. That is your update for the best of the Super Juniors after 3 nights of the show. Remember, we did talk about on Friday, night 1, and we'll be bringing you all the different updates every Monday and Friday right here on the Wrestling Wrap-Up. And for that, that's going to wrap up the wrap-up. Remember, tonight is Monday Night Raw. We've got 4 things technically announced for tonight's show as far as tonight's Monday Night Raw is going. We're going to pull that up on the screen. We're going to pull up the WWE Raw preview right here and tell you what WWE is doing. First off, we do know that Cody Rhodes will respond to Brock Lesnar's attack last week, even though technically he already did. Also, we do know that Becky Lynch will address her adversary, Trish Stratus. In action, we do know that the Women's Tag Team Championships will be on the line when Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan defend the Women's Tag Team Championships against the team of Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. And finally, well, not finally, actually. 6 things. Is it 6 things? I might have counted wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's 5. It's 5. It's 5. I counted right. We do know that Gunther will make his Raw debut tonight. But in doing so, there will also be a battle royal on Raw where the winner becomes the new number 1 contender for the Intercontinental Championship. And finally, it's Shinsuke Nakamura against The Miz. So with that, guys, that is everything that is being advertised at this time for tonight's Monday Night Raw. So with that, guys, I want to say thank you for joining me here for the Wrestling Wrap-Up. Remember, you can watch this show live, twitch.tv/PWU Unlimited. Watch it live or later on YouTube, youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited, or listen on podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. So with that, guys, we will see you back here, right here, live or later if you don't want to watch live, following tonight's Monday Night Raw. So with that, have a good one, and we'll see you next time.